It's been about, I want to say, what's today? The 12th?
Yeah, 12.
Yeah. So it's been nearly 2 months since we lost our son, Megaa. And I'm coming to talk to you today about it from a doula's perspective. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keeping Up with All My Marbles. As you probably have read in the title, what this video is going to be about today. It's been about, I want to say, what's today? The 12th?
Yeah, 12.
Yeah. So it's been nearly 2 months since we lost our son, Megaa. And I'm coming to talk to you today about it from a doula's perspective. I've watched over the past couple weeks a few different scenarios of people that have talked about their experiences and what they've been through. And a lot of times women go into birth work after having such loss. But this is coming, my perspective is coming from somebody that's already been in birth work. So to give you a little bit background about me, because I haven't talked about, what I do on this channel at all. It's been mainly about our children and, stuff we do on the weekends, stuff like that. But I'm a doula. If you don't know what that is, it is a woman that, or a person, I should say, that assists other women or parents in childbirth, mom and dad, family structure, in childbirth and the different changes that you go through in pregnancy, labor and delivery, and I do postpartum work. So to get into a little bit about, I guess, my pregnancy, I am the mother of now 5 children, including our angel baby. I have a set of twins, and then they're turning 6 very soon, and I have a daughter named Joy that is 4, and Rainbow is 2. Now Rainbow, I did have a home birth with a midwife with her. All my other children were hospital births. The twins were a C-section, and I've had every child after that vaginally or had a VBAC, which is called the vaginal birth after cesarean. So just to get into a little bit about my pregnancy, this was the most I guess I'd say different pregnancy that I had out of all of them. The twins was pretty rough. I gained a lot of weight with them. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes with them, but I didn't really have like any changes in my pregnancy. Like, I didn't change the way I ate. I gained, I don't even know, close to 100 pounds with them. They were born at 36 weeks. I had went into preterm labor with them at 33 weeks, and they stopped it. And then I went into labor, and I had them via cesarean at 36 weeks. The twins were, Madeline was 5.9 pounds, and Mikhail was 6.9 pounds. So a lot of weight, during that pregnancy. A little over 12 pounds of baby I carried that time. So after them, I've had Joy. She was 8 pounds 2 ounces. Rainbow was 8 pounds 2 ounces. Had normal textbook pregnancies with them, no gestational diabetes. But by the time I had Joy, where it was pretty rough, I gained a lot of weight with them. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes with them, but I didn't really have like any changes in my pregnancy. Like, I didn't change the way I ate. I gained, I don't even know, close to 100 pounds with them. They were born at 36 weeks. I had went into preterm labor with them at 33 weeks, and they stopped it. And then I went into labor, and I had them via cesarean at 36 weeks. The twins were, Madeline was 5.9 pounds, and Mikhail was 6.9 pounds. So a lot of weight, during that pregnancy. A little over 12 pounds of baby I carried that time. So after them, I've had Joy. She was 8 pounds 2 ounces. Rainbow was 8 pounds 2 ounces. Had normal textbook pregnancies with them, no gestational diabetes. But by the time I had Joy, that's when I started birth work and started learning a lot of things about birth and pregnancy, and what doctors want us to do, different alternative methods and stuff like that. So with Joy, I exercised. I was vegetarian full time by that time, and exercise, walk 2 or 3 miles, 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah, really healthy pregnancy. But Rainbow, when we conceived Rainbow, we were going through a really rough time in our life. Tragedy had struck our family at that time. My husband's mother was brutally murdered, and I got pregnant probably with her the same week that happened. So I was really depressed. Didn't care what I ate. I wasn't vegetarian anymore. We had kind of fell off with all that kind of stuff. Did not exercise nearly as much. I think I walked a few times after I got about 36 weeks, but still, fine vaginal birth. I was in labor with her around 36 hours, which wasn't typical because Joy was only 5 hours. So I was expecting a fast birth in labor again. But with my home birth, the environment was kind of relaxed for the most part. And I think it might have been too relaxed for my personality type. I'm like adrenaline and stuff like that. I did a lot of interventions that I wouldn't have done in a hospital, but just because it was taking so long with Rainbow, I did have my waters broken. I did drink the castor oil and all that kind of stuff. Did a lot of things I wouldn't normally do, but did it because I was impatient with her. Which brings me to this current pregnancy. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes pretty early. My prenatal labs were done non-fasting. I had ate something that day, but I came up in the pre-diabetic range. I was not willing to accept that I was, anywhere near diabetes or anything like that. But because I was heavier than I have been with my other pregnancies and other different things, a lot of times you get labeled, regardless. So I did have a maternal fetal medicine doctor that, was watching over my pregnancy. Went to a lot of doctor's appointments, had a lot of ultrasounds that I didn't really want, but just had a feeling about he'll be back, about this pregnancy that was a lot different. I tried to begin to walk and stuff like I did with Joy, because I just had a real easy labor with her. Just try to implement those things, going back vegetarian full time. She will start with this loud ice maker while trying to do this video. But yeah, so lost my train of thought. Hold on. Okay, so tried to start walking, exercising as soon as I found out that we were expecting again. But I felt, off when I would exercise. I would get extremely tired, winded, but just dizzy, just a lot of stuff going on. So I'm like, okay, I need to get checked out. So that's what they came back with. I was, borderline diabetic, and we were going to be treated for gestational diabetes. They had me pricking my finger 4 times a day for months. I was prescribed metformin. And I'm just not a real big medicine person. I rely more so on my herbs and things of that nature. So, but that's what it was. So supposedly, the whole pregnancy, everything was good. He did not like he did not like ultrasounds. They used to have to like tilt me backwards to get his measurements. He would cover his face, like just didn't want to be bothered. And my other children weren't like that either. But just a lot of things happened during the pregnancy that I felt like something was gonna go wrong, or I had a fear that I couldn't shake. When you're pregnant, sometimes you have different feelings, but fear is usually not one of them for me. I don't, feel no kind of way normally when I'm pregnant. But I was under, now looking back on it, I was under a lot of stress that I'm typically not under. Just things that I had decided to take on that weren't really my responsibility, but I just chose to do anyway. And there was a few months. My husband was preoccupied with church drama school and working, so most of the child care and doing everything for the kids relied on me for most of the months, for about 3 or 4 months in the middle of my pregnancy. But honestly, I don't feel like I could have done anything any different to have a different outcome as far as our son Megaa is concerned. But I came here today to talk to you about him and our labor experience. We did choose to go unassisted this last time with our son because he was supposed to be our last child. My son and my husband, wanted another guy to add to the family. So that's how we got to this point. We decided to have another child, and so it was the morning of, let's go back 2 weeks before, about 2 weeks before, 12 days before I had him on the 20th of December 2021. I went to the doctor to have an appointment, and I would have been around 37 and 3 or something like that. They did another ultrasound growth scan and said that Megaa weighed about 7 pounds 12 ounces. Everything was good. They wanted to induce me at between 39 weeks and 39 to 6. They didn't want me going past that with him. My thing as a doula in birth work, I've always, and I was trained, and I know for myself it's better to let your body naturally does what it's supposed to do without the introduction of chemicals or other pain meds and inductions and stuff like that. I know in special circumstances, like high-risk cases, you should consider other methods, or in emergency situations, C-sections have to happen. But in my personal experience, when I had a C-section with the twins, I had complications. The next day after I had the C-section, I was hooked up to an EKG machine. They didn't know what was going on, thought I maybe had a heart attack, but I ended up having fluid on my around my lungs and heart, and I had to be on fluid medication for a month after having the twins, and I could never get an explanation as to why. Was I allergic to something? What happened that caused that? And in my mind, I was like, I'll never get a C-section again if I can help it. I don't feel like it was an emergency situation with the twins, but with twins, they don't really want you to try to have a vaginal birth. So I went with it that time. But in any other circumstance, I'm very concerned about something that could happen to me if I were to go under the knife again. And that's just my personal choice. Do people have stillborn children or children that need, born without breath, however you want to document it or say it. In a hospital setting, yes, they do. I don't feel like our choice to go unassisted contributed to our son passing away. He ended up being 10 pounds and 13 ounces 12 days later on December 20th, 2021. So that's close to almost 4 pounds off as far as his weight is concerned. So ultrasounds are not completely accurate. as far as weight and things of that nature. Had I known, you know, that he was that big, I probably would have went ahead and got induced or went ahead and got a C-section. Had I known, I would have done anything in the world to save our child. If I would have known that that was the circumstances. But
pissed me off, man.
Things that I guess contributed to that is also I have 4 of the children that if something happens to me that, you know, won't have their mom. So that was my choice again, to not get induced. So the morning of December the 20th, I had went through several weeks of false labor or prodromal labor, as they call it. You know, you have this intense contractions for a certain amount of time and then they fizzle out. So for the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy, I was just like, I think this is it. You know, no, it's not. I think this is it. I'm hurting really bad, you know, that type of thing. And I normally don't do that. It's usually, I know this is when it's time and we do it. So the morning of, I think it was about 3:45 in the morning, I woke up to a decent contraction, like, okay, that hurt. So I got up to use the bathroom. When I rolled over on my, well, you know, to get out the bed, got up on my knees or whatever, because I was about 245 pounds by this time. So it was hard for me to, you know, get up and move around. I felt, you know, him drop it down into the birth canal. So I'm like, okay, we're getting serious. It's gonna, you know. So I went to the bathroom, used the bathroom, and as I was getting back on the bed, felt my water pop and had some leaking. So I got back up and I'm like, okay, well, let me see if it's, you know, a lot or whatever. So I had a few puddles on the floor going back to the toilet. So I'm like, okay. So I text my doula like, hey, my water just broke. Letting her know. But I had told her weeks before, I was like, you're not going to make it. She lives an hour from me. There not many doulas in the area where I live at. Well, I'm the only doula right in the area where I live at. So I was like, he's going to be here soon. He's been sitting low for weeks. You know, it's not, my labor not going to last long. And you ain't going to think it's for real because, you know, I've been going through this for so long. So immediately, like, you know, just started walking around kind of thinking, like I said, we had planned for an unassisted birth. I had my supplies, everything ready to go, but in my mind I was like, I might want to go to the hospital. But I was like, nah, because I remember the last time the facility I went to get my prenatal care was where I had Joy. So when I went into labor with Joy, that hour and a half ride in the car in labor was horrible, like horrific. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna just go ahead and stay home. I got this. So, you know, started laboring, started moving around on the birth block. I did have some footage for y'all, but just so happened, probably a week or two after I had him, my daughter, my phone was already messed up, almost broken, but she like stabbed the screen with a pencil and the whole screen went out, so I couldn't get the labor footage to add to this video. But at some point during the video and the labor, I think you moved it to the bathroom or something, and we got ready to move it back, and I was just like, forget it. So we stopped recording. It's just like I said, a whole lot of things happened over the course of my pregnancy and delivery. Like, it's just like things, little signs that, you know, something wasn't going to go right. So I remember, like, you know, getting the pains, like it feel like, you know, I need to go ahead and start pushing, you know, the bowel movement feeling that we all get. So I kept going back from the bed to the toilet, you know, trying to keep my knees up. But I was just, you know, I was like, dang, I'm using more of my strength to, you know, kind of push and stuff like that than I normally have to. I normally get the fetal ejection reflex, I think that's how you say it. It usually kicks in and my body does the work for me, but this time I was just like having to change positions and you know, get on one knee, get off that knee, put the other one up. It just felt like I was working really hard, and I was getting really sleepy between the contractions. So that was all weird to me, and so
Yeah. As she was giving birth, when the head came out, you know, the head was really big. I mean, it was huge, and it's trying to come out, and she was pushing really hard, and I could tell she was using all her strength. And I kept telling her, like, baby, you really gotta push. You gotta push to at least get the head out. She finally did. Maybe how many minutes since the head was popped out?
It probably took me about 5 or 6 minutes.
5 or 6 minutes, and after that, that's why I tried to pull the baby out. The arm somehow got stuck around her shoulder, and somehow it wouldn't come out.
So his was it shoulder or his forearm?
I think it's
At some point, well, after his head was out, like my body just quit. So it like I wasn't having contractions as close together as I was. And if you ever had a baby, you know, you need them contractions to kind of move the baby down and stuff like that. So my body just stopped, and I was like, okay. Still trying to push, still trying to get him out because I know he needs to hurry up and come out. But nothing was happening. So eventually, you know, I got enough strength and I got another contraction and finally got him out. So
and throughout the whole process, she was like, man, midway, she was like, man, I feel like I'm gonna go to sleep. And that sent all red flags in my head. She said that.
And my labor was only like what, like it was probably in total about 2 hours and 30-some minutes. It wasn't a long time. It wasn't from that first contraction to the time I got him out. It was only about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So it wasn't, you know, anything, you know, long and it really, I mean, the pain doesn't, to my recollection, wasn't any worse than it was with my other kids. It was just that me getting sleepy in between. That was weird. But when Kaale handed him to me, my baby was floppy. He was gray looking. We had taken a CPR class. You know, we knew what to do as far as trying to resuscitate him. But when I seen him, it's just like all the things that I was afraid of, you know, that I had been thinking about while I was carrying him. It was like...
You look definitely lifeless, so to speak.
We tried his feet, we tried rubbing him, you know, trying to suction him out, and started the CPR. He just never cried, never opened his eyes, and it was just like a real, I don't know how to describe it, like weird feeling, because you know when you have a baby you just expect them to start crying, and it was just a weird silence over the room. And most women that I've watched their videos and their experiences, most of them, I haven't ran across one yet that was otherwise, but most women know, you know, ahead of time before they go into labor that the baby's already gone. But I didn't have that. I was expecting my baby to just be fine, just like his sister was before him that I had at home. Again, we did not have a midwife, but I had been researching since the day I found out I was pregnant. You know, I read books about unassisted pregnancy. I read, you know, what to do if this happens, what to do if that happens. I had educated him on those things. I had made him a little pamphlet, you know, of the different essential oils, the herbs that I was using, tinctures, stuff like that. You know, same thing, what to do if this happened, that happened.
She was well prepared for this baby. Like well prepared, especially doing the unassisted birth, man. All the books that you think of, she read it all, and she makes sure she got everything right. She's very intelligent, very, very smart woman. Like, there's nothing that she can't do. It's all that hard work, basically. You know what I mean? It ain't cool. It's not cool.
So, like I said, everything that I had researched and things that I had seen and read about, nothing could prepare me for that moment, seeing my baby like that and, doing all the things that I could think of to, save him. And I'm not, making this video or, telling anybody not to trust their body and not to go about it this way, because one thing about it, black women in general, we're at a war in the United States anyway. I don't know about anywhere else. As far as infant mortality and black maternal health is in a crisis right now. So I know and understand why a lot of us are turning back to our old ways and how we did it for many generations of having children by ourselves.
It wasn't always a hospital.
Right. It wasn't always doctors and things. There wasn't always there was always a woman, I'm sure, in the villages and stuff like that knew what to do in these situations. But one thing about it that I've come to realize and understand after going through this is that all babies don't live. Every spirit that comes here doesn't come to stay. And that's been a very hard realization. I'm not getting up here, and I know we probably seem, pretty calm about it, even though it's not been that long. But after having children, and I have, like I said, 4 living children, I always took for granted that I was going to come home with a baby. It never crossed my mind that it was going to be any other way.
And we worked hard. We promised our son that we're going to have another baby boy because he's the one that's basically lonely and have to do all these girls day to day.
Our son was due the day
He was so excited about seeing the baby boy, his brother, man. We promised him. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks that as soon as we came home from the hospital and we got to go ahead and went straight to the funeral home first. And then we had to go right to the house where all the family is there, waiting and expecting this baby boy to come walk through this door.
Let's back up. So let's go back to, so we tried all the efforts to resuscitate him. We were not successful. I think he was born somewhere around 6:15. After, trying for a few minutes, I was like, hell, just go ahead and call the people. I was referring to 911 to see if they could help us. They came and they probably brought 50 people with them. I called and I called and explained to the lady that I just had my baby and he was not breathing. She tried to walk me through the CPR things that we had already been trying. I don't know how long it took them to get there. We live in a rural area. We don't even live in the city limits. But the fire people was out there. The EMS finally got there. And they immediately started working on him. But they were not successful. In their efforts. They put me in a separate ambulance. They put the baby in an ambulance. They did not allow my husband to ride with him. I still don't know why they did not allow him to be with our son. But I got to the hospital. They, they cut the umbilical cord, to transport me. They told me in the ambulance, I guess a code came over the intercom or whatever, and they were like that they got a heartbeat for the baby. So when my husband got to the hospital, when he got to me, he was like, he's gone. He was like, when they left from the house with him, they didn't turn the lights on, and a similar situation happened with his mom. when what happened to her happened. And so I was like, no, they said, they got a heartbeat. I said, he's gonna be okay. So time went on, time passed. I don't know how long. Everything kind of was a blur at that point. But eventually the ER doctor came in to talk to us and, told us, broke the news to us that he didn't make it. And of course, initially I'm just like, okay, but they said they had a heartbeat on what happened. And the ER doctor said it was a bump, could have been a bump in the road that picked it up. That still don't make any sense to me. But he didn't have any answers for us as far as what happened to our son. He just reassured us that he doesn't feel like it was anything that could have been done different. He didn't mention the placenta. He didn't mention really anything else. We of course reacted to that news. How we felt. I was, destroyed. Just out. Just like I having an out of body experience. Like I couldn't believe that that's what he was telling me. This was my reality. I like to think about was our other children. My due date was the day after Christmas. And even though I despise the holiday and it's not a joyful time for me, I had promised my children a baby brother for Christmas. And we don't even celebrate the holiday. We don't buy gifts. We let our family do that for the kids. That's what they want. But I just, that's all I was thinking about. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell them? Especially my son, Kaale Jr. And so it's just like I went into autopilot. As you'll learn, if you continue to follow this channel, I suffer from other mental illnesses, childhood trauma, things of that nature. So I'm used to being in survival mode and what I call autopilot. So it's just like immediately I went into autopilot. Like I'm the type person, like if something happens to me or to something happens, life happens, I just immediately do whatever has to be done and start taking care of business. Like my emotions have to do what they do at another time, but right now I have to deal with things. I began to reach out to my family to tell them, through text message, because I just couldn't keep saying that over and over again. I text my immediate family in the group text and, told them what happened, that I would reach out to them when I got myself together. Told some very close friends. One of them dropped everything they were doing and came to the hospital and spent time with us. My doula was there. She had made it to the hospital at some point, and went by the house to get my clothes and things for me. I called, started calling my family to see about, which way we were gonna go with the funeral arrangements. Called the funeral home, called different, just started handling business, whatever I had to do. They eventually brought my son to us. And one thing about like my children, in my mind, I'm just like, anything, just like any other parent, if anything happened to my children, I don't know what I would do. I would just be crazy. You had to put me in a crazy house. Like that's stuff that I've said before in different situations. Just even the mere thought of something happening to my child just would take my breath away. And then it really happened.